We've got details of these and many more coming up in the next 20 minutes if you spend your time with me. Remember, we are live on DSTV channel 279. My name is Josh Quinn. Now let's settle for the details of the stories. Two CSOs, Imani and Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, have described the presidential intervention to probe the controversial SML contract as unnecessary. The president earlier in the week instructed KPMG to audit the deal, which has been subject of allegations of malfeasance, in 2 weeks and present a report of its findings. Such a probe, the groups argue, should be conducted by independent statutory agencies and Parliament.
Based on a report by the Fourth Estate, the SML contract with the Ghana Revenue Authority for revenue assurance has been fingered on several fronts for acts of alleged corruption. Parliament and now the President have ordered a probe into the deal. Civil society groups Imani and Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, in a joint statement are demanding more in relation to the steps to be taken to resolve the matter. They argue that it would be useful for an independent audit by statutory and constitutionally empowered agencies, as well as Parliament, to establish whether the state has been criminally duped through these schemes for the appropriate sanctions to be prescribed. According to them, it is only a state agency that can do that, not KPMG, the firm contracted by the President. They allege that KPMG may be in a position of conflict of interest, considering that they also work for the GRA on a number of transactions. They contend further that the SML situation presents an opportunity for the state to holistically examine the many revenue assurance gigs that are siphoning revenue from the state across many sectors, particularly the telecoms sector, the ports, our GRA head office, etc., to free up revenue for development.
And that was my colleague ET Mensah coming through with that report there. We'll keep tabs on it and surely update you in our subsequent bulletins. And our pollster Musa Dankwa says the new patriotic party's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will struggle to turn around voters who have indicated in significant numbers that they will vote for the National Democratic Congress's John Dramani Mahama. The two candidates will go head-to-head in the December 7 polls to decide who leads Ghana starting from January 7, 2025.
The survey was conducted from 22nd September 2023 to 31st December 2023. 53.2% of persons interviewed say they will vote for the National Democratic Congress's John Dramani Mahama in the 2024 polls. The New Patriotic Party's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on the other hand, had 29.6%. Independent candidate Alan Kojo Chairmantin obtained 7.7%, with all other candidates estimated to share 4.2%. 5.3% of those sampled, however, said they are undecided. Executive Director of the Global Info Analytics Limited, Musa Dankwa, finds John Mahama's lead, particularly in the Ashanti and Eastern region, to be quite interesting.
It could be an outlier in the survey, in the sense that it's very unusual for us to see these kind of numbers in Ashanti and Eastern region. But that shouldn't surprise anyone. Go to the poll regarding the direction of the country. How are the Ashantis seeing where the country is headed? And it will give you a clue. If you look at the number of people who said the country is headed in the right direction, Ashanti is 20%. 77% said Ghana is headed in the wrong direction in Ashanti region. And then you look at the standard of living of people. Now, in Ashanti region, 63% said it's gotten worse in the last 12 months. That is the reality on the ground. So the poll numbers that we are seeing are reflective of people's sentiments at the moment across the entire country. And Ashanti region and East region are no exception.
On the state of the country, 68% of those sampled told the researchers the country was headed in the wrong direction. Musa Dankwa believes this may have accounted for the outcome of the survey, but is skeptical an improvement in the state of the economy will change much.
67% of voters said they are unlikely to change their mind. Only 16% said they are likely to change their mind between now and December. And 17% said that they were neutral about changing their mind. So you could see that from these voters, their minds are made up. And that's the problem for the campaign. You must convince people to move from unlikely to become likely changing their minds. And that will be a very difficult task for any of the campaigns to do.
The research agency says it will be conducting other similar surveys in the coming months.
And now the vetting of parliamentary aspirants of the governing New Patriotic Party in the Greater Accra region has come to an end. Sitting MPs and fresh aspirants sat through hours of interviews. My colleague Judy Brown was at the vetting premises and reported.
The vetting process on Thursday has been nothing short of eventful. Massive crowds massed up at the premises to shout loud cheers for aspirants. Member of Parliament for Ayawaso Central Henry Court is confident of winning the upcoming primaries.
Will they bring an amateur to come and represent them at an international function when you are there?
But one of his contenders, Moses Abo, says he has the backing of not only the electorate but also party stalwarts.
The people are calling on me. You could see there is a polling station who went for my form that Moses, we want you, and everybody know what I have done in Ayawaso Central. And Almighty Sheikh Aisuki, the father of the constituency, is also saying that Moses come and rescue Ayawaso Central.
Meanwhile, in the Ablikuma North constituency, current Member of Parliament Sheila Battels will be facing former MP Ekwewusu Efriye, who tagged herself as a woman of development.
I did the streets and gutters in Sakaman. No individual touched it. I did it single-handedly by lobbying, and I am coming to continue. When you come to the Akuma lorry station, that's the only lorry station, refurbished lorry station in Ablikuma North. I love development. That is the key to success. And I also love social intervention.
But Sheila Battels, on the other hand, is confident she will be retained by delegates to contest the December 7 polls.
I know that by the time I'm done with my first term, regardless of the fact that I didn't have the advantage of the $1 million per constituency and all the other resources that she had access to, I think that my footprint will be much, much more than what she was able to achieve. Ablikuma North will be far, far better for it, and I know that is the reason I got number one.
And for Member of Parliament for Ablikuma West, Ursula Gifty Owusu-Ekufo, the coming primaries will be determined based on her track record.
I'm not afraid of a contest, and I welcome it, and let the people themselves speak about who they want to represent them in the constituency. And I'm sure the NDC in the constituency are even quaking in their boots, waiting to see what the decision will be. But I'm confident that at the end of the day, victory will be ours.
Day 2 of the vetting process covered Ablikuma West, North, Ayawaso Central, Shobu, Amasaman, and Wejabawe constituencies. After 2 days, 31 aspirants were vetted with 3 disqualifications. For now, what is left are the primaries set for January 27. Judith Brown, TV3 News.
Well, let's listen on the MPP primaries because Deputy Minister of Finance and MP for Edreso, Dr. John Kuma, is among 5 MPs who will have a no contest in January 27 when the ruling MPP holds 8 parliamentary primaries. Some constituents have expressed mixed reaction over this very development. William Evans Inkum has filed this report.
Here is Onye, the hometown of the Deputy Finance Minister and MP for Edreso constituency. Dr. John Kuma will have no contest on January 27 when the MPP holds its parliamentary primaries. Heated argument has greeted his solo run.
In terms of migration, police, fire service, we are fortunate past MP. If we didn't compare to America, we did 3 years, also America, we did 12 years, and some oil rules, and uncompleted.
Though some of the constituents say he has fulfilled most of his campaign promises, the issue of bad roads remain a scar on his numerous achievements.
A hospital, school, now between chance and now so for Ogusua parking so promise Ogusua about Ogusua na ya up to now you won't hear about what said you my dinner Cynthia. I hope so. I can say yeah we ending it now I be my
Bosomtwe is a neighboring constituency. It has the education minister as the MP. He's eyeing a 3rd term in parliament, but looks like a done deal for him as he goes unopposed. 56-year-old Auntie Asantwa is a constituent. The mother of 7 is a widow who sells a roasted plantain for a living. Her base is the shoulders of a dusty stretch. She tells me the MP has done well in the area of education. However, the poor nature of the Kontanase-Aputuja road will give him a lower mark.
The kwano high said be also local bibi kakra kra no de mfuturo ni nti wontimi ma bo okra yekokrom kra be se no dunia nya aka ma sanse kwan no obi ase anye.
Bosomtwe is the hometown of the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, Bernard Entwibo-Esiakon, as well as the current Regional Minister, Simon ET Mensah.
And in the Eastern Region, Deputy Finance Minister Abena Osei Asari and Deputy Education Minister Gifty Chum Ampofo are confident delegates will give them the nod to lead the party into the December 7 polls.
The Deputy Finance Minister Abena Osei Asari must beat 3 male entrants to retain her slot. She says it will be a walkover for her, adding that maximizing votes was crucial for the Tiwa East constituency.
In this crucial election, you don't just need any candidate. You need a candidate that will maximize the votes for us. And so clearly, it is obvious that it's Abena Osei Asari who is going to maximize the votes for them.
Deputy Education Minister Gifty Chum Ampofo, who is also the Member of Parliament for Ibwakwa North, is hopeful the delegates will again give her the chance to lead the party.
But I know what I have done, and I know the Christ in me, and I know the directions I have, so I know it is a done deal by the glory of God.
From the Kwapim South constituency, incumbent Member of Parliament Obi Amwa is seeking a 4th slot to be in Parliament. Eastern Regional Minister Seth Kwame Champong is hoping to win the slot for New Jabin North. Aspirants from 13 constituencies were vetted for the second day. Meanwhile, Ruth Ya Ansah Safori, the sole contender against the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Michael Ochubefi, in the New Jabin South constituency, has been disqualified. Regional Secretary Tony Oseje explained the committee's decision.
The person in question said that the person gave consent, but now the person is in front of the committee saying he did not sign it. And when you look at the signature of the person and that of what is on the document, it differs.
Away from the MPP parliamentary primaries, a youth group in Inanta is demanding thorough investigations into recent communal violence in the municipality. The group has called on the president to establish a permanent military camp in the area in order to restore peace.
Inanta, a once bustling town in the ET region, has over the last few months witnessed clashes which have led to some death and the loss of properties. The Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, imposed a dawn-to-dusk curfew on Inanta and neighboring communities on November 21, 2023, after clashes in the area. But the clashes have continued. The latest incident on Tuesday, January 2, 2024, led to the death of 1 person, with 4 others sustaining injuries. Residents lament the impact of the unending conflict.
Schools, school
School has reopened, but our children cannot go to school. Our hospitals are also closed down because doctors and nurses are afraid to come to work.
As I'm speaking to you, it's very difficult. How to even to go and fetch water at the riverside is even difficult for the person to go and then fetch the water, because he might be short. It's very difficult for them, some of them, even to go to the farm, get their food. How this situation is, you can't go anywhere.
They called on the government and relevant stakeholders to help bring an end to the conflict.
Our first recommendation is to establish a military base in Inanta. Number 2, the immediate removal of the MC. We humbly claim the indulgence of the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the Speaker of Parliament, as a matter of urgency, institute a full commission of inquiry into the Inanta South ethnic dispute. Well, if you're just tuning in, you are watching the first news bulletin of the day on TV3.
right here on New Day with me, Josh Quinning. And to one development that has informed to my black outfit. He was one of the longest-serving MPs with extensive knowledge and experience before his exit from Parliament in January 2017. Members of Parliament have been eulogizing the late ET Mensah, describing him as a loyal servant and a true statesman.
The late ET Mensah entered Parliament as MP for Ningo Pram Pram in 1997 and exited from the legislature in January 2017. ET Mensah died in South Africa on October 1, 2023. On Thursday, December 21, Member of Parliament for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, made a statement on the floor of Parliament to eulogize him. He described the late ET Mensah a true and a loyal servant.
When he was in leadership in Parliament, he sought for consensus building and always reached out to the other side to facilitate the work of the House. Commenting on the business of the House on 13 November 2009, Hansard 726, column 726, he said, "The other time, when the shoe was on the other leg, we were making the same noise, but it has come to a time when we need to look at these things in a bipartisan basis. So we take their concerns into consideration." Now, Mr. Speaker, an enduring legacy of his leadership should be as working towards consensus building in this Parliament.
He's a test case for all youth in this country. Wherever you are, be there, work hard, learn hard, push harder, and God will be your light and it will shine ahead of you as you rise. Some of us were young when we heard his name and watched him on television do all he had to do in his ability or in his capacity that he served this country.
Other MPs shared accounts of how he motivated and encouraged them upon their first entry into Parliament.
I must confess that even though I was not a member of his side of the House, but he could easily reach out to me. And I must say that he is one of the people who mentored me. He once told me that, "My brother, in this house, if you are young, what you need to do is to learn. You should not be the first to speak. Listen to other people, get to know how the debate is going before you speak."
In 2012, I remember very well, he called me to his office and introduced a young man to me. That young man, he said, "This is my son, in whom I'm well pleased. But I'm handing him over to you. I want him to groom and nurture him, just as I groomed you." Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to say that young man I groomed and nurtured is today a member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram, Mr. Sam George, Honorable Sam George. The last time I met him was here in Parliament House. The discussion was centered on how to get him to forgive my brother and visit him in the house. And it's sad that he didn't come back. I'm sure if he had come back, we will have resolved some of the problems we have.
I learned a lot from Honorable ET Mensah. One thing that he told me that helped me was that, "Young man, in this house, use your salary to prepare your budget alone. Don't put your mind on any other thing."
A minute of silence was observed for him. The prominent politician held various ministerial positions, including Youth and Sports Minister, Employment and Social Welfare Minister, and Education Minister. He was also longest-serving mayor of Accra and former chief whip. Evelyn Tenkma, TV3 News, Parliament House.
Meanwhile, leading members of the National Democratic Congress, the political party which ET Mensah dedicated all his political life to, have been sharing fond memories of the late Minister of Youth and Sport. He will be laid to rest later today. Enyunam Haliga profiles the once vibrant man.
ET Mensah, born on May 17, 1946, hails from Pram Pram in the Greater Accra region. During the Provisional National Defense Council military regime under Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, ET Mensah was chief executive of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. He also worked as a minister for youth and sports in the NDC administration under Rawlings. As a staunch member of the NDC, ET Mensah entered Parliament on the ticket of the NDC representing the people of Ningo Pram, where he held the seat till 2017. On February 12, ET Mensah was elected as a representative of the Greater Accra region on the Council of State, a position he held until his demise. For the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, ET Mensah was a force in Ghana's Fourth Republic.
They were the early ones who anchored the revolutionary process. Himself and Amabinuado were both in the University of Ghana and formed the first CDR, in that institution. And he's also one of those who anchored our new local government when the district assembly concept was rolled out. And so his role in history is cemented, and nobody can take that credit from him.
Members of the executive committee paid glowing tribute to the late statesman.
Important incident I would like to relate to was when we won in 1992, and all of us, cadets and the youth, were rooting for ET to become the Minister for Youth and Sports. So we said, any other person that will be brought, we won't accept. Then we heard the announcement on radio, Minister for Youth and Sports, Mr. ET Mensah. Then hell broke loose. All cadets met chanting revolutionary songs, charging on Justice Anand's office. He said, why? He said, what? We, the youth and cadets of this party, we said that ET is our man. Who is this in October? So ET, we don't want any entertainment, sir. You must put ET there, otherwise we will disagree.
I remember till now is when I resigned from office. He was the one as Minister of Education. He came and took over from me. And I remember the words of advice he gave me and his sorrow and his assurance to me that, well, he would never let go of my hand because we are partners in this exercise in politics. And we bring the brother and sisterhood of the Ghana.
ET Mensah died in South Africa while undergoing treatment. The burial service will be held on Friday, January 5, 2024 at the forecourt of the State House in Accra.
May his soul rest in perfect peace. And away from that, the reconstruction and expansion of the Accra-Tema Motorway from a 4-lane to a 10-lane has begun. The contractor, a Ghanaian-owned company, has moved to the site, mobilizing resources to execute the 3.5-year project on the 19.5-kilometer stretch. For the first time after 58 years, the Accra-Tema Motorway is seeing major renovation works. The 19.5-kilometer motorway, constructed in 1965 by the first president, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, has in the last few years been described by many as a death trap and no longer fit for purpose. Over the years, a lack of maintenance has led to the deterioration of the Accra-Tema motorway, with bitumen having been used over the years to patch a concrete asphalt road. The reconstruction and expansion to span 3.5 years will see the motorway develop into a 10-lane highway from the initial 4 lanes. A Ghanaian-owned company has moved to the site. Currently at the resource mobilization stage, the company is putting up campsite expected to accommodate batching and asphalt plants, machinery and offices. Drivers slowed down trying to maneuver their way out because of the cracks and potholes developed on the motorway. One of the immediate interventions of the project is to improve on these potholes to ensure free flow of traffic. Whilst at it, the main project will be in progress. The scope of work of the project includes a 10-lane, 4-lane reinforced concrete motorway and 6-lane urban highway to be known as service lanes. There's a relocation team mapping out structures to be demolished to pave way for the project, just like these billboards right behind me and some structures along the sides of the motorway. So time will be given to these owners to do the needful. If the time elapses and the structures are still there, the team would have no option than to pull down these structures in the way of the project. The project also includes the reconstruction of Tetekwashi to Apenkwa, the remodeling of the Tetekwashi, Apenkwa and Achimota interchanges, the construction of 5 new interchanges, and pedestrian footbridges. According to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, the project has factored in the urbanized nature of the motorway now.
The motorway has served this country for over 50 years now. And this redevelopment is looking at the next 50 or even 100 years. And so I don't think it's an over-ambitious project, no. Once you get on the express 4-lane, whether you are going to Accra or you are going from Accra to Tema, and from Tema to Accra, you cannot go off the express lane. So at the very beginning, you have to decide whether you are taking the express lane or you are taking the service lane.
Motorists want the project completed on schedule.
It's something that has been long overdue and people keep talking about it. So I think that if they have the funds to do it, I think it's a good idea. If they can do 3 and complete it, it's better than they having an ambition to finish, do 5 and they couldn't finish it. Then we come back to the same state of what we have.
Good news, but because of election eba entina omuyedia and the omuajimu.
It is good news to expand the motorway, but if it is to woo votes, then they should forget it.
For now, motorists may have to endure the inconveniences that come with the bad nature of the motorway until its completion in some 3.5 years if it does not elapse the deadline. Josh Quinning, TV3 News, Accra Tema Motorway. Well, I'm sure you're wondering why I'm in black. The entire team today is celebrating the life of the late MP for Ningo Pram Pram and also member of the Council of State, ET Mensah, as he goes home today. The burial service is today from 7 a.m. at the State House. May his soul rest in perfect peace. My name is, we'll actually bring you extensive coverage of the burial service from the State House. My name is Josh Crane. Thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Have a good morning.